It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Writers Grindline. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, I'm joined in by my line mates, Evan Sabourin and Devin Little. Devin, how's it going? We got another week in the books. Unfortunately, not a very good week for the Red Wings. Only had one win this week, but how's it going?
It's going. Yeah, like you said, not as high-spirited about Red Wings hockey as we were 2-3 weeks ago, but it's the ups and downs of the season, right? Can't get too high or too low.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it's going to go for the Red Wings. I mean, this year we kind of expected it, maybe that it may be a bit up and down, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Evan, how's it going?
Man, it was a crap week of hockey, man. It was bad, it was ugly, and I'm not happy. And I was driving to hockey last night, probably shouldn't be driving and watching the game on my phone. When I saw that Reimer penalty, I almost swerved right off the road. I mean, come on. That was brutal last night. Brutal. Those are games we got to win. So not a good week. Not a good week for hockey, but everything else is good.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, we'll get into that good and bad. I'm sure you'll have a few things to say. But before we get to our first bit of the episode, I got to remind you of our Substack that we've got here at the Hockey Writers. We've expanded our offerings with a Substack dedicated to every team, as well as a general one for all the best articles. But as a Red Wings fan, you don't want to miss any of the great content we're producing at the site. Red Wings Substack makes that possible. Sign up to get all the articles delivered directly to your inbox multiple times per week. And we even offer a premium subscription now that gives you access to exclusive content you can't find anywhere else. That includes game chats, game day previews, exclusive articles, and more. Join now to get a discount on an annual subscription, and a sign-up link can be found in the video description below. So check that out. All right, well, let's get into our one good, one bad. And Evan, we'll start with you since you already kind of got into it. What do you have for a good and a bad from this past week here?
Well, sadly, the good will be easy because there wasn't much. So the bad I can go for a while. And the other part too, is that the only good I saw this week was the play of the fourth line. That's the only thing I saw this week because the rest of it just came out flat. I mean, going back to the Boston game, we were riding that high. That was one of the best games I've seen the Wings play in a while. It just entertainment value. The guys were fired up and played great. Then they come out flat at Madison Square Garden. It was just awful. And the game was over before it even started. And, they flat, depressing. Husso looked terrible. That first goal by Trocheck was absolutely horrendous. Any NHL goalie should be able to stop that shot. And it went downhill from there. The 3 goals in the third period, great. I'm glad they kept going and fighting, but it was just you can't go down 5-0 like that. It's I don't know. This team's got to figure it out and they got to gel. As far as the bad, I wrote down some numbers here and it's a long page. The power play that we got so fired up about at the start of the season has been horrendous again. So last 3 games, 1 for 14 on the power play. That's not going to cut it. Dylan Larkin, 2 points last 5 games. DeBrincat hasn't scored in 7 games. He has 1 assist in the last 5 games. So it hasn't been a good week offensively. And the power play, it just keeps getting worse. So things got to get figured out. It's just not good right now. And, we're still early in the season, but it's, something's got to change here. There's got to be a fire lit under this team. And we don't know what goes on in the locker room, but I hope Dylan Larkin's getting in some faces, man, because it's been a brutal last couple of games.
Yeah. Well, we kind of expected DeBrincat to slow down. It was crazy to think that he was going to stay on that pace. And, but now you don't want to get to that type of, 7 games is a bit of a drought. I mean, you've got to be doing a bit more than that, but we'll touch on that as we go throughout this episode here. Devin, what do you got? You got some other good, or it's going to be mostly bad as well?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with Evan here. There's unfortunately not a lot to pick from in terms of good. Really, the only good I can think about or can think of is getting a point out of that game against Montreal. Obviously, with where the Red Wings are and the division they're in and whatnot, they got to get every point they can. Would have been nice to get to, but if you're faced with the option of having no points or 1 point, I take 1 point every single time. And then my bad, again, like Evan said, there's a lot you could highlight. I'm going to just kind of overall say the coaching staff. That Rangers game, they were not ready to play, and that's on the coaching staff 100%. Honestly, a very pitiful effort against a team that's expected to contend for the Eastern Conference. You've got to show up for that game. I can't believe that they they looked like the Red Wings of 3 years ago, and that's not what this team is. And again, that's on the coaching staff. And then also to kind of like another example of the coaching staff apparently not knowing what they're doing. Husso's left the net all for the whole game against the Rangers, and I think he probably should have pulled after the third or the fourth one. They kind of just left him in there. And you'd think you'd pull him for a number of reasons, even if it was just to show mercy to Husso, right? But they kind of just let him be in there. And then James Reimer cost the Red Wings a point with his stupid penalty. That's not on the coaching staff, obviously, but Alex Lyon, where's he been? He's sort of kind of hanging out in the press box. They're giving Husso plenty of starts. They're turning to Reimer for plenty of starts, but Alex Lyon is just somewhere. Who knows where he's at? He's definitely not in the Red Wings crease, though.
Yeah,
I put that on the coaching staff too, because they have 3 capable goaltenders, but for whatever reason, they only want to use 2 of them. So, a lot of questionable decisions by the coaching staff, especially over the last week. I think this might be the very first time in Derek Vallone's tenure where you can honestly say, like, we have some issues with him, right? Like the honeymoon phase is, I would say, it's officially over.
Yeah, it's been rough. And the thing is, what my bad was going to be that James Reimer penalty. I'm like, but how the heck was he doing? I mean, that's just it for a veteran goaltender, for a veteran in general to do that. I mean, he should know better. And I mean, anyone should know better, but a veteran in particular, that was just stupid. I mean, it was just dumb.
There are 10-year-olds who like barely know how to body check that know you don't do that. Like,
yeah.
Come on, that was a terrible penalty.
And he didn't play that awful either. He made some
pretty
good saves in overtime, but no one's going to remember that. They're going to remember that stupid penalty that cost them. The Wings were on a rush when it happened. So give me Alex Lyon or give me death. I don't know.
Yeah, that was another one of my I don't know, like they signed this guy for something and not to sit in the press box, I thought, but that's what he's done. He's been warming the seat up there. I don't know. But
honestly, a pretty good gig. If I can get that gig, sign me up.
Get paid to sit up and watch a hockey game. So it's good what he's doing. Yeah, and I mean, I know there's not a lot of good to choose from. I'm gonna say the good is that game against the Bruins. I mean, you break their streak there. It looked like it was gonna be a great week. You go from that game and then you put up a stinker against the Rangers. I don't understand how that. Shouldn't you get motivation and shouldn't you kind of use that? You beat one of the best teams in the league right now, and you're going up against another team that's one of the better teams as well, and you can't put up against them. I don't know what happened there, but my good is that they beat the Bruins, so that's a good all pick. All right, well, moving. We talked about, you kind of talked about the defense, Evan, there. Let's move to that and talk about this defensive core that they keep kind of rotating around. I mean, only 3 guys have really been consistent in the lineup, and that's Moritz Seider, Jake Wallman, and Ben Sherratt for the most part. Seider and Wallman for sure. That they keep moving other guys in and out of the lineup for some reason, and then they, of course, got that third goaltender sitting around. Evan, what do you think? Should they continue doing this, or should they just try to stabilize? Well, read the sign first. Thing. That's awesome. Should they just try to stabilize this blue on here?
I don't know how much more I can watch of Jeff Petrie. I'm a huge fan. I'm a Michigan State alumni, and he's a Michigan State guy. Dan Petrie's kid, I love him, but it's past his time. He's not effective out there. He struggles to get the puck out of his own zone. He's a defensive liability. It's time. Ali Mata, you never know what you're going to get with that guy. He'll make a good defensive play here and there, and then it's same old. Sherratt, I watched that guy get caught out of place too many times. It's time for Edvinsson. What did we draft this guy for? It's a sixth, seventh overall. What was it? Let's go. It's time. Raymond came and played his first year, and this guy's physically ready to be a Red Wing. I don't know what I don't know what the holdup is. I know with shoulder surgery, maybe that's what it is. It's time. There's too many defensive liabilities out there. Let's get up our big guns, So I'm frustrated with that. I mean, I don't know what's in the head or what they're thinking right now with this. I don't like this. The defensemen keep rotating in. You can't get consistent play. You can't gel when you're moving guys in and out. So I don't know what that theory is that they're working with.
It really makes. I didn't like it when they got Petrie in first place because I didn't think that they needed a guy like that. And then just created more of the logjam we were already talking about before he was acquired. Because Matto was going to be the guy odd man out. And then they got rid of Lindstrom. Okay. And that kind of, but then they get Petrie in that deal. So it's like you really didn't change anything. But yeah. Devin, what do you think about this? Should they continue with this in and out thing or try to stabilize this blue line in some way?
Honestly, I'm going to start to answer this question by answering a different question that's not even being asked. This is even more so why I'm like baffled that they won't play Alex Lyon because they're content to rotate all the defensemen in and out of the lineup. But why aren't they rotating their 3 goalies they have on that? Like, it's the exact same thing. What, like, did Alex Lyon like yell at somebody, like yell at the wrong person? Like, I don't get it. But yeah, this is my episode where I'm going to bat for Alex Lyon. Holy cow. He's gonna play and let in 5 goals, and I'm gonna have nothing to say about it. But anyways, so my point there is that they do it with the defensemen, and I think that generally that's fine. And to that point, I think they should do it with the goalies. The reason why they do it with the defensemen, at least in my eyes, is because they really only have 3 or 4 defensemen that you could actually make a case to play on a every night basis. But then even then, some of those guys get moved out of the lineup. Like Gostisbehere was a healthy scratch this past game against the Canadiens. He's been one of their better guys. That was baffling to me. Justin Hall's been a really solid add this year, and he gets removed from the lineup. And it's like, what are we rewarding good play here? Or are we are we not? What are we doing here? Like you said, Matt, Olimata, we kind of expected was going to be the 7th guy. So when he's out of the lineup, it's what we expected. And then the fact that Ben Sherratt's been like a stable guy throughout the season so far, like Evan said, he gets caught out of position all the time. Yeah. Like he got moved off of Sider's pairing last season because it just didn't work. So they're keeping outside of Wallman and Sider, they're keeping one of the guys who should be rotating in and out of the lineup. And then they're moving guys in and out of the lineup that should probably be there on a consistent basis. I will say, I think the fact that Sherratt's got a steady spot kind of cements that he's like a real leader of the team. He does wear one of the A's for the team. And I feel like I just kind of a sign that like he kind of relied on in that role, because Lord knows they don't rely on him to be able to shut down defensemen, because if they do, they're not getting it. But no, I think ideally, this kind of goes to Evan's point too. Ideally, you find defensemen that you don't have to rotate out of the lineup because you can play them every single night. You feel good about Wallman and Sider, and as you should. Why not give Edvinsson a look? See if he can cement claim a full-time spot. Considering what the D-cores looked like over the last week or so, what's it gonna hurt, right? Yeah. If he doesn't succeed right away, you can send him right back to Grand Rapids. It's fine. You're not like, he's not stuck in the NHL once you call him up. That's not how that works. So I think the correct answer here, or my answer is correct way for me to answer this question, what I meant to say is find your guys and stick to them.
Yeah.
Right now, I guess it's fine to cycle them because you're trying to find chemistry and whatnot. Still early in the season, but at some point you got to find some stability. That's how chemistry is formed.
Yeah. And we talked about the 11-7 thing last episode, and that's why they rotate guys in and out too. And it just pick something and go with it, and pick your set of defensemen and go with it. Instead of having these, again, with the 3 goalies, if you're going to have 3 goalies, use your 3 goalies. And right, I mean, you're using all your defensemen, so why not use your goaltenders as well? Yeah, it is tough. I mean, I'm not really sure what the answer is. I mean, you got to get rid of one of these guys if you're going to bring up Edvinsson and hope that he's the guy regularly in the lineup. He's got 3 goals in 8 games in Grand Rapids right now, a -3 if you take that stat into anything. He's not doing bad in the AHL. It's not like you're going to be calling him up when he's playing horribly, and it's like we're rewarding you coming up and for playing bad. So it's not like you're doing that if you're calling him up. I don't know. It's tough to say. And that'll lead me into our first off the rush. And Devin, I'll start with you. Who would you remove and get rid of to get Edvinsson in this lineup to potentially stabilize this blue line? Because there is a few guys that you probably wouldn't be able to move, but who would you pick?
Gotta be Dan Petrie. Or Jeff Petrie. Yeah, get his dad out of there for sure. Yeah, no, Jeff Petrie. Like Evan said, just too many times where it looks like he's just a step or 2 or 3 or 10 behind. And it's just not gonna work. It was a nice feel good acquisition, right? Good to see him wearing the winged wheel, but it's not doing it any justice.
Yeah, but the thing is, doesn't he still have that no movement clause that you have to deal with to move him? He's got something.
Yeah, I think it's not a full no move. I think some teams are allowed.
Yeah, something like that. All right, Evan, what do you think? I'm thinking I know your answer, but what do you got?
Who would I bring up?
Yeah, who would you get rid of to get?
Well, I mean. There's so many options here, to be honest with you. One would be Petrie, obviously. I'm glad he already said that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like I'm getting a little tired of the Robbie Fabry experiment. He's hurt, he comes back, he looks terrible, he's rusty.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does this go on for? Robbie Fabry's, he's all right. He's a 3rd line winger to me. And they try to use him, they keep using him in a top 6 role that I'm not a fan of. And, he hasn't played in a while. He looked completely rust. It's just, I don't know. And the 3 goalies, why carry 3 goalies? Put one of them down in Grand Rapids. What's the point of holding 3 goalies if you're not going to play one?
Yeah.
But Lyon's going to have to go down for a conditioning stint eventually here.
Yeah.
He's get time there. I think that's per NHL rules that he'll have to go down for a conditioning stint. I don't know what the thought process is going on here. And that's part of my frustration with the team right now. I honestly was hoping to, open my notebook today or check on ESPN.com and see that, that loss last night probably should have pissed off some people in the organization. And I wanted to see something. I wanted to see a retroactive move for it, but nothing yet so far. I mean, hopefully we'll see something for tomorrow, but I don't know. It's just frustrating right now because I can't see the structure or what they're looking at or what they're trying to do here because right now, roster-wise, it doesn't make sense to me.
There's a few question marks in the roster right now and we had these question marks before the season too. I was like, how are they going to do this? This logjam on defense is insane. And then they got their prospects that you would want at least Edvinsson up here, maybe even another guy. To try to do this.
I'd rather see Jonathan Berggren up here than Robbie Fabry.
Yeah, even in the forwards. Yeah. There's even some. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know what we're doing to his confidence because he played. He's still a kid, but he's 23 now.
Yeah,
and I thought he played well last season. He was a spark when he came up. He's a playmaker. Yeah, it's time to move on from some of these guys. It's time to stop being patient with these teams. We have good players. It's the rebuild is, it's pretty far. We're pretty far into it, and it's time to let these guys play. We're always famous. The Red Wings are always famous for over ripening their prospects, and there's no consistency with how they do it. Raymond plays his first year, Sider his second year. Why? What's wrong with Edvinsson coming up? Bergeron. Yeah. I'm ready for this guy to play. In a more consistent role, and I worry about his confidence, like I just said, when he's sitting down in Grand Rapids. Yeah. And I think there's players that are on this roster, forward wise, that he's better than. So. If you can tell, I'm frustrated today. So.
It's not like he hasn't been. It's not like he wasn't good last season. He was really good last season. We thought he had solidified a spot in the lineup. We were kind of surprised that he was sent down after training camp. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with all this moving forward. That's for sure. All right, before we move on to our, we're going to keep talking about the goaltending after this, but before we get there, I got to remind you of the Substack that we got here at the Hockey Writers Red Wings Substack. We got a free version that you get in your inbox 3 times a week with all the best articles during the week. Also got a premium option we got game day previews, we got exclusive articles, prospect updates, and a lot of fun stuff in the premium Substack. So there's an annual subscription, a discount link below. So check that out if you want to get some more Red Wings content in your inbox there. All right, well, let's move on to the goaltending. We've already talked at length about the goaltending already, but we're going to focus again on Ville Husso, who has not had a very good start to this season, allowing goals left and right. He allowed the 5 against the Rangers. He hasn't been to the level that really is to be as solidified as a starter. He played really well last season at the beginning of the season. Even we were thinking, Vezina Trophy maybe. That first month was really good for him. Since then, and all season was okay, I guess. But this season he has not been. Devin, should he still be the go-to guy, or should they start looking at someone else? Because we already talked about 2 goaltenders that they got. Obviously, we're not saying one of them is definitely a starter, but should he still be the go-to guy for the Red Wings?
Yeah, I kind of jumped the gun with the previous topic and kind of showed my hand with what I'm going to say here, right? I don't think Husso's done really anything to solidify himself as the go-to guy. In fact, I'd say his Red Wings art is mirroring Alex Nedeljkovic's right now. Nedeljkovic in his first year had a crazy opening 2 months of the season where he's basically the team's MVP. Ville Husso did that. You just talked about it. We thought that could have been a Vezina Trophy candidate last year. Then the calendar flipped to the new year, and Alex Nedeljkovic fell off and just never seemed the same. And then the calendar flipped last year, and Ville Husso kind of just fell off, and he never seemed the same. And then you entered his second year, and by the time we got to Thanksgiving, Nedeljkovic was with the Griffins.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get to that point with Husso. I just don't see that happening. But boy, would you blame them if we woke up tomorrow and we found out that they assigned Husso to Grand Rapids? They put him on waivers, right? He hasn't done enough to where that's like crazy. Like that's a crazy idea, right? I think that just kind of goes to show that those trades that Eisman made, in both cases, it was the 3rd round pick for this up and coming unproven goaltender. And what do you know, when they're unproven and they're, you can't expect them to be world stoppers. You hope. And don't get me wrong, both Ned and Husso have shown flashes of being able to steal games. But it's not doing it right now. And that's even more so why I think that they need to rotate all 3 goalies, just like they're rotating the defensemen. You've got, like you said earlier, Matt, you've got 3 guys under contract. You got 3 guys on the roster. Why are you not using one of them?
Yeah.
If Husso or Reimer or both of them were playing lights out and we're giving you elite goaltending, then I wouldn't throw Lyon in there either, because you're just going to upset what you got going on. And neither of them are. I mean, they both have cost you games at this point. Lyon hasn't cost you anything because you haven't played the guy.
Yeah.
So No, I don't think Husso's the guy, at least right now. I think that they have I don't think it's time to abort on him like they did with Nedeljkovic last year, but I definitely feel a lot less secure with him in the net than I did at this point last year.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Husso, I think he was very up and down last season. I mean, and this season he's been, I want to say he's only had one good game. I mean, maybe two, I don't know. But yeah, he's definitely not been a very consistent starter for the Red Wings. And at the beginning, they were outscoring teams and just didn't matter that they were allowing 3+. But lately, this offense has been, like you said, Evan, has gone away, and allowing that many goals have cost them games. So yeah, something's got to change for sure. Evan, what do you think about this? Ville Husso, is he good enough to be this starter right now?
Man, I'm just worried that he's a flash in the pan. You know, he had that one solid second half season with St. Louis, floundered in the playoffs, basically. I'm not seeing it right now. I'm just not. And, you know, I'm looking at his numbers right here. He's got a 3.57 goals against with an 890 save percentage. That doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
At this point, why not try Alex Lyon? I mean, this is the beat the dead horse episode.
Yeah.
He's, you know, hey, he helped Florida get in the playoffs last year. They're not in the playoffs. They're not, you know, he didn't play in the playoffs, but they're not in the Stanley Cup Finals if he doesn't get them there. You know, why not try something? Like, you know, let's try something different, because I mean that like I said earlier, some of these goals I'm seeing that are getting in on Husso, those you're not a number one NHL goaltender if you can't stop some of those shots, especially that first one in New York that just started to open up the floodgates. You can see him just losing confidence as soon as the other teams gets a lead. It's not there for me, and I don't think it's there. And the numbers don't lie. You know, we're what, 12 games in, 13 games in. It's, you know, it's time to try something different. I would have said Reimer until he made that stupid play last night. Him off to Siberia for all I care. He did look solid last night in a couple of plays. You know, he did make some big stops that actually kept him in the game. But, you know, like I said, everyone's going to remember that, you know, brain fart at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know where to go here. You know, I don't think they're going to, you know, make any moves. But I'd like to see Alex Lyon get a start or two before Christmas, hopefully.
We said that last episode too.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't gotten a start. We should start taking bets on what his first start will be. All right. Well, I mean, it's tough. I don't know what like I said, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, you don't want to throw Sebastian Cossa up here. You don't want to try him to hope that he does, because you don't want to destroy him. Yeah, you just go with what goalies you got and try Alex Lyon. What do you got to lose, really? I mean, you've got him on the roster. Get him in a game, see what happens. Yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd do Alex Lyon in one of these games here. But we'll see when that'll happen. All right, well, let's get to our next one. And this is on, again, we talked about prospects, and, you know, Evan, I'll start with you. And you probably have the answer to this one already too. If you could add one prospect to the lineup, who would it be? And it's coming.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's beyond time, so we beat that horse dead as well. No, as far as prospects, man, I mean, I'd love to see Berger. Like I said, I'd like to see Bergeron up. I'd like to see Soderblom get a couple games in. There's guys down in Grand Rapids, like, obviously something's not clicking right now. And, you know, hockey is a game of trends. And when things aren't working, try something different. You know, I don't know 100% what the answer is. I would have loved to see if Carter Mazur had started the year healthy, and what he could have, you know, gave this team a spark. But I mean, it's hard to really think about that right now. But like I said, Edvinsson is the key. We need a big left shot defenseman with a big stick. And I mean, what do we draft? Like I said, we drafted this guy in the top 10. Let's get him up. Let's play. You know, it's beyond time. So I'll let you guys go, because I'm that horse again.
Well, Edvinsson, like, he showed he could play in the NHL last season. I mean, he played not quite a few, but he played some games. Had a couple goals too. I mean,
part of me wonders, like, if they're just like, they don't want to, I think they just want to get him enough games in Grand Rapids. One of these defensemen's got to be moved at the deadline.
Yeah.
Someone's going to, every team at the deadline's looking for that veteran defenseman for the playoff run or whatever. One of these guys has got to be moved. It's got to be. And I think they're just, I'm curious, would he have made the team if he didn't come off that had that shoulder surgery? Maybe he's rusty still, but I don't see that. I think he's had more than enough time. It's beyond time.
100%. Devin, you got Edvinsson as your guy, or you want to see someone else? Not someone else. Obviously you probably want to see Edvinsson, but
yeah. I mean, the two obvious ones are definitely Berggren and Edvinsson. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that Berggren didn't start the season in Detroit. But whatever. But with how the goaltending is looking, and I'm going to say this kind of tongue in cheek because you definitely want to see Alex Lyon before you see Sebastian Cossa. But
yeah,
how iffy the goaltending's been, and how good Cosa's been, except for tonight because he had a bad game. But we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, bring up Cossa, see if that steadies the goaltending. I'm kidding. We're not doing that. No. Bring up Edvinsson before you bring up Cossa. Let's not do that. But still, the joke remains. And then also, bring up Marco Kasper. Because same reason as you'd bring up a Carter Mazer, just add a little bit of sandpaper to the lineup. Kasper's got plenty of skill and plenty of two-way ability, but what really sets him apart from other prospects in his draft class and just in that draft range is that he's willing to play the hard game. He's willing to play like I said, he has some sandpaper in his game. So I don't foresee him being called up anytime soon, but I think he would add just a little bit more tough to play against to their lineup.
All great choices. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of room for these guys, and that's what the whole episode is basically about. And we've talked about it at length.
Oh, they added all those free agents, and what do you know? There's no room to maneuver. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, we didn't anticipate that at all. All right. Well, we'll see. I want to see Edvinsson, obviously. I do want to see Carter Mazer up here at some point as well. Because they, unfortunately that injury kind of derailed that to start, but we'll see when that happens. I'm hoping one of these guys but again, there's moves have to be made before this happens, unfortunately, or not, injuries as well. I mean, that could happen, but it's tough. We'll see what happens as we go through the rest of the season here and even the next few weeks. All right. I've got a couple questions. Well, some quick ones here. We got this. They're going to Sweden this coming week, playing against the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs back to back. We'll see what goaltenders get each one of those games. But they do play the Columbus Blue Jackets later today if you're watching this now. But let's talk about the Senators and Maple Leafs games. And I have a question because it's basically going to be like Sweden Central because you got Ottawa and Toronto both have very extensive histories with Swedish players, and we of course know the Red Wings do. Evan, who's your favorite Red Wing Swedish player has played for the Red Wings? There's quite a few of them, and there's some obvious ones, but it's kind of tough to pick just one. But who's your favorite?
I'm not going to go Johan Garpenlov here. That's what I was thinking originally. Oh, Jonathan Eriksson, what a nightmare. Come on. We all know who it is. He's the greatest perfect human alive. Nicholas Lidstrom will always be my favorite Swede. And if there's no other answer, that's the only right answer.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we've had some other great Swedes, Kronwall, we love him. And I love that both of them are still involved with the organization and are helping our prospects over there.
Yeah.
But you can't, there's no other answer than Nicholas Lidstrom.
Yeah. I mean, you got Henrik Zetterberg in there as well. He's very top choice, I'm sure, too. But yeah, Lidstrom's mine as well. Devin, you got Lidstrom, favorite Swede, or you got someone else here?
My favorite hockey player of all time is Henrik Zetterberg. So for me, it has got to be Zetterberg. But I will say that the correct answer is definitely Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah.
I just grew up when I did.
Yeah. And quickly, Evan, other than the big names, who's your favorite underrated Swede that's played for the Red Wings? Again, quite a few to choose from.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Ah, man. I'm not gonna say Jesus. I almost said Garpenloff. That's how desperate I am. Now I'm trying to remember all the Swedes. There's just so many. Let Devin go. I got to think about this. Underrated.
Devin, what you got?
To some extent, you almost want to say Johan Franzen because he's underrated because you think you immediately think of Lidstrom, you immediately think of Zetterberg, you even immediately think of Nicholas Kronwall, and then you kind of and then you start to dig into Swedish Red Wings, and it's like, oh yeah, Franzen too. He was dominant at one point in time. So, and obviously, it's horrible what happened and how his career ended. So, I'm gonna give a little love to the Mule.
All right, that's a good one.
I got one. Holmstrom.
Yes.
Holmstrom. Come on,
that was mine. Yeah,
and I hope he's that guy took a beating, man, and he was awesome. He was the goal. I mean, he was probably one of the best goal front players that's ever played in the game. I mean, that's what he's famous for. I mean, he just caused havoc in the crease, and I loved him.
That was mine. Thomas Holmstrom is he's been a favorite of mine, and I've compared different players to him, and net front, he's definitely the pro for sure. All right. Well, there's another episode in the books. We had lots to talk about, obviously, but make sure checking out all the articles at thehogbears.com. Check out the Substack. Again, a premium subscription is available to you. Link in the description below. But, until next time, we'll see you on another episode of The Crime Line.